Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Tons Productions podcast on this Monday, February 25th, 2019. I hope everyone had a great week and weekend. I certainly did. I noticed that this podcast is really picking up steam and getting a lot more listeners. I'm so appreciative. I sit down and talk with some really cool people from the film industry, and I know it's interesting stuff, and it seems to be gaining momentum, so I'm enjoying it and really, really thankful. Today, I am joined by a local comedian named Toby Hargrave, who also does acting in the independent world and also big TV shows and movies. To see more of his stuff, you can go to his website. It's www.ctobylive.com, SEETOBYLIVE.com, or on IMDb as well. He's got lots of credits. And I really enjoyed this conversation, so here you go. Here is Toby Hargrave.
You are listening to the Tons of Productions podcast.
So anyway, I want to start just so people know who you are. You've been a comedian for years, and you are from Edmonton.
I am, yeah. Born and raised.
Born and raised.
Let's see, what is it, 2019 now?
Yeah.
Wow. In September of this year, it'll be 18 years.
Wow.
Holy smokes. Yeah, that I've been doing stand-up.
That is wild.
Yeah, wow. Hey?
So before you had married and had kids, you were on the road all the time? Is that what you did?
Yeah. I was really lucky. So I started in Edmonton. I had a sketch and improv background with a company called Rapid Fire Theater in Edmonton, like in the early 90s. So I'm 44. Yeah, 44. And so when I was 17, I was always like a theater kid. I went to an artsy-fartsy Waldorf school and as a kid and whatnot. And then really got into the theater and improv and sketch, and then kind of took my head and lodged it firmly up my arse for a good 7 years and just drank a lot in the restaurant business. And it was miserable. And then I kind of stumbled into stand-up in Edmonton. I met an amateur comic who thought I was funny, and because I was that annoying guy now who, here's you're a comic and now he wants to show you that he's funny. And like, that was me. That was who I was back then. And so anyway, long and the short of it, I tried it, and that was the biggest paradigm shift I've ever had in my entire life.
Like you knew that was what you were meant to do or something?
If you've never had that moment, it's a profound moment.
That was film for me.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things you're like, oh, like everything's changed.
I should have did this at 17. Why did I just discover it now?
And if there's anything that somebody comes away with, listening to something like this, like this spot, it's just, no, do it. Just go do it.
Do it.
Because you don't know. Like, you actually might do it and go like, oh, this is awful.
Right.
But probably not. And that moment, that first moment on stage, my first set was great. My second set was miserable.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to duplicate my first set and had no idea what I was doing. The first 100 sets we always say don't even count. But that moment, I just remember, you want to get the first laugh. And I got the first laugh. And my thought was I got him. And then I thought my whole life has just changed. And I quit my job 3 months later. Almost went bankrupt in that first year.
Oh, wow.
But started touring really quickly. And I was lucky that happened.
So you never took a course or anything? You just did it because you had the improv background or whatever?
I was lucky enough to have the improv background, and as a waiter, when I was a waiter, I actually I was kind of doing stand-up already with my table. So if I had a 5-table section, I had enough material for each table that they could have a different show. And when I say a different show, like I would say that me waitering was a performance. So I had little lines, and I did, and I was the
be charming guy. And be all.
I was far from charming. But, maybe I was charming enough that I got away. I'd be the guy that would walk up and be, hey, if you chew your food here, it's more enjoyable. And I kind of walk off, and it wasn't for everybody for sure, but you got to read it, and there's enough little jokes that I had that I didn't have to worry about everybody hearing the, that table got the same line. Oh, because I knew that would make it not as authentic or
just generic,
sincere.
Whatever, yeah.
And so I was able to kind of carry that through that ideology into doing stand-up. And then yeah, I kind of had material already, and the theater background helped, and I started at a good time, really.
When comedy was just picking back up, because it didn't die, but it went really low for a while. It wasn't huge.
Yeah.
And then it just got all of a sudden ballooned, and now it's humongous.
Well, now now you're in this huge renaissance of stand-up. It wasn't in a renaissance back then, but in Alberta, it was an oil boom. Everybody had money, entertainment. So if you had a car, which I did, if you were a good guy, which, hey, this is why I'm here. Like, I was always a comedian with a good personality.
Right.
Is Toby funny? He's such a good guy. But is he funny? Really good guy.
Yeah.
Has he cooked for you? Great guy. But is he funny? Anyway, so what were we talking about? Like, it just was one of those moments. And, but I had enough going on that really quickly I got lucky. And back then, maybe if you're doing 2 gigs a week, depending, you're making $200 to $600 a gig opening for these one-nighters in, bumblefuck Alberta somewhere.
Right, in the middle of nowhere.
In the middle of nowhere. They're fundraising for a new park or something. Well, you could make a living. Like, suddenly you're making...
You get $200 for a show like that?
Oh, dude, you see, but everything's changed now. Like, back in the day when I was starting, people here didn't even... In Vancouver is a different animal.
Right. Than the small towns around Alberta and through the interior.
Well, even than just in Alberta. And it is changing and it's evolving. And I'm a little bit out of touch now. But, in Vancouver at the time, it was fighting for 5 minutes. It was fighting for 7 minutes. People didn't really go on the road a lot.
Right.
And for some comics, that worked out really, really well. And most comics, it just didn't work out at all. And in Alberta, I used to tell everybody, go to Alberta. Because you're going to do, if you're good or good enough,
yeah,
you're doing half hours. And back then, not now, but back then, you were making $200 to $600 to open.
Wow.
And
that's good
when
money.
you were the best of the openers. So when I left, I was like, I was the best of the openers and I was the shittiest of the headliners. Like, you're always, in stand-up, you're always the best at something and the worst.
Yeah, the big fish or the small, small fish in the big pond, big fish in the small pond.
Yeah, like when you do your first open mic night,
right?
You're just a shitty open micer,
right?
But then wait, but you start to learn a few tricks and you start to gain some confidence or
talk to the crowd, get some stuff.
And now
going.
you're a good open micer, and then you go to one of the clubs, and now you do an amateur night. Now you're just a shitty amateur comic,
right?
But then you kind of get good, and then you're on like a guest spot, but now you're a shitty guest spot, but you're a great amateur, and then you're a shitty middle, and then you're a good middle, but a shitty MC, and so it's the evolution of it. And so you could make a living back then, even as an opener. And the headliners, you're like, oh, well, now that's how you really buy a house.
Right, that's real money.
And then without getting
Bill
into the
Burrs
whole...
and Louis C.K.'s and all those guys.
Well, I will never, in Canada, you're never getting to that level.
Oh, really?
No, not in Canada.
What about like Norm Macdonald and
absolutely, but he's not in Canada, right? He went to the States.
He went to the States. Same as Martin Short, all those guys. They went to the States.
You do have comics in Canada that have some fantastic success,
right?
Absolutely, but there's not, name all the comics in the States that you might know that aren't the Louis C.K.'s, or that may not be a great example right now.
Oh, like the lower tier, like they're good, but they're not.
Well,
Bill Burr, they're not.
They're great, but not everybody can be discovered. I mean, they're
right.
fantastic comedians that are, changing lives at every show they go to, but they just, for whatever reason, aren't that level of success.
Right.
But all they do is stand up. There's hundreds, and in Canada there's, I don't know if there's 10. Like I don't know if there's 5 that just do stand up, that don't do anything else. Everybody kind of diversifies a bit, and so. And then the whole market kind of collapsed for a whole bunch of different reasons. That's a whole other podcast. And comics just started going out on their own. And comics aren't good businessmen, and they just devalued their product.
Well, back then, it was like you sign up with Yuck Yucks, and then Yuck Yucks owns you, basically, and you go with Yuck Yucks. Because I didn't know how it worked back in the day when certain clubs had them all over the big cities. Yuck Yucks, eh?
Yeah. It was kind of different for who you were with, right? Like, who you were. There was a different set of rules for every different person. But there were no open mics when I started, and you bitched about Yucks.
Yeah?
But you bitched about Yucks on the way to a Yucks gig where you were getting paid well. They're not a good company. They're not. I should rephrase that. The clubs are fantastic.
I like Yuck Yuck clubs.
The clubs, like the Vancouver club here, the ownership is incredible. The ownership in Calgary
Hands down.
It's just so much fun. And the club and the manager in Edmonton makes it worthwhile to go to. But head office can be hard to deal with, and you don't always see eye to eye, and maybe that's part of how it's supposed to be. But at the end of the day, regardless of all the, I wouldn't be where I am without Yucks. And I left Yucks 8 years ago. We just couldn't see eye to eye anymore.
Right.
And it was a really amicable, like, Mark Breslin and I sat down, and we had this great conversation, and I remember leaving like, man, I don't think he and I agree on very much at all, but... That went really good. Like,
but the anticipation before you talked to him was way more than what it was.
Yeah, well, I think at that point I didn't care anymore, and he didn't care. Like we both knew, hey, it would be great if we can work together, but we're going to be fine without each other.
Right.
And, that's really what you got to remember in this business entirely, is that the moment you can finally just accept, and there's a freeing moment in that you're not as special as you think you are.
Right.
And that... you say, I quit. Well, there's a lineup behind you of people who are going to do great jobs.
Yeah.
But the moment that you can just kind of let go and say, okay, well, if that's the case, I'm here for a reason. So if this take sucks, they're not replacing me. Like, I'm here.
Right. You're in. Yeah.
I'm here for a reason. Somebody saw something.
Right.
And I'm here for a reason. Once you get to that level of saying, oh, well, that's where the work really starts. That's where the fun really begins. But it can take a long time to get there, right? Especially when you start out and, you're an extra and you're just trying to...
Oh, yeah. No, I think, the entertainment business, I think, basically, there's a lot behind you, no matter what it is. Stand-up, acting, working in crew, PAs. I get a PA show call, I'm doing it, and they're like, well, if you don't show up or whatever, we can replace you, like, in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so since you know that, you work pretty good. But that's not, like, stand-up is a different story because it's putting together your act and putting together your stuff, right? It's a little different. It's a performance where...
Oh, it takes
being
years.
a PA, I'm like, I can carry sandbags good. Or whatever.
Right. But you're still working towards, but that's the same, when you started, you're doing guest spots and you're doing this and you're doing that. And so
the very beginning.
You're working and you're learning and you're developing and... being a PA, I'll stop short of saying it's an artistic endeavor, but that's not to say that you don't have artistic aspirations.
Right.
But there's fundamentals you have to learn in the same way of stand-up, in the same way of acting. Yeah. There are fundamentals, tricks, if you will, that make your job and everybody's job around you easier, that once you're fluent in, it allows you to actually enjoy the process of what you're doing as opposed to...
Well, a lot of the PAs that I worked with that were like creative did independent work. They were really into indie films, and they only PA'd for a paycheck, right? Which was great because you're in the industry, and then you'll meet people that are,
like-minded,
like-minded, and people that are way up. So, like an example I used was when I got my first show call to be a PA, it was Stargate Atlantis.
Yeah.
And I would park Jason Momoa's car.
Okay.
For almost the whole season. And we got to know each other really well and whatnot. And now he's gone on to he's the biggest guy in Hollywood. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But that gives you an example of how you can connect and rub elbows with the,
See, that's funny because that Stargate Atlantis, I'm pretty sure was my first audition I ever had.
Really?
Yeah,
that's
my first
hilarious.
audition in the city I ever had, and it was who was doing the audition? Yeah, it's funny. I almost never see him. And he's one of these cats. I really like him, and we've just never had a chance to ever see each other beyond in awful circumstances.
But it was a guy casting agent.
It was a guy casting. He worked with anyway, yeah, and it was funny because it was one of those you went that way. All right, can you do it again and be funny this time or whatever it was a very small thing and I always say it was like a shit role in a shit production. I went and did a shit job, and he looked at me and went, okay, you're shit. And every year I'd have a State of the Union audition, and then I started booking that, and there's a whole other set of stories there. But that's how it. Yeah. So anyway, started getting.
Well, no, that's wild that you got into acting. That was your real the stand up opened the door for acting. Basically, is that what happened? Because you had an agent, and they said, oh, you can go for this audition.
Yeah. See, and so this is what makes me. Oh my goodness, so lucky to a certain extent. No matter what your aspirations are or how you enter the business, you're going to have a rough time and an easy time of it at different points compared to your peers.
Right.
So, when I started doing stand-up, so when I came to Vancouver, and in the first, I was already known in the stand-up business. And when I came to Vancouver, the Vancouver Comedy Festival at the time was running a kind of a competition thing, the funniest comic in Vancouver.
Okay.
So I moved here, and 2 months after I moved here, I won the funniest comic in Vancouver, and
I saw that on your thing.
on
your website.
Geez, is that on the website?
Oh
I
yeah.
gotta take that down. Okay,
under your bio. I think.
maybe under the bio. Okay, yeah. So, and I beat out I think on that show Peter Kalamis and Kevin Fox, which is just a testament to.
Peter Kalamis is hilarious.
No, I know, and this is just a totally testament to I'm not the funniest comic in Vancouver. I was the funniest comic in Vancouver on September 21st between 8 and 9:30 in that one room at that one time that was on stage.
But you're your worst critic for sure.
No. It was just. I mean, these guys are monsters, and I just got lucky. So, but that brought some heat, and that heat got me my agent.
Okay.
Who I had no business having.
Oh, so you didn't have an agent before that?
No. I moved here without an agent. I had I have no idea how long this podcast goes for, but you might have to, get a new hard drive.
Yeah.
So if I go back to the beginning, so I started doing stand up in the early 2000s, 2001, September 20th, I think it was 2001, or 21st, and I was 25. And then a year later, I was here doing shows for Yuck Yucks.
Okay.
And I have some friends here that I grew up with. And he's in the film business. He's an editor. Really fantastic fella. And we were... whenever I'd come here, we ended up doing these film festivals. And we'd shoot stuff. And nobody in Edmonton was shooting something. Everybody in Edmonton was writing a sitcom.
Okay.
Nobody wanted to write a 5-minute short. Nobody wanted to just...
Right.
Well,
they're reaching for the brass ring right away.
Yeah, let's do something small that's going to suck. Yeah. Or do something big that's going to suck.
Yeah.
And so we come here, and I did the 48-hour film festival. We did this show called Spin Cycle. And Alec, who's a dear friend of mine, is in the business. He's a director and editor right now. And that's how he makes a living. The other one was Zach Lepofsky, who back then was this 19-year-old with a dream living in his mom's place.
Right.
He may not even been 19. He might have been 14 or 15.
Yeah,
but
he was a kid.
But he was even back then, he was like this, he's a special effects wizard type thing.
Wow.
And so he was on board, and we did this whole 48 hours, right? You showed up and got a box of stuff. And you went home, you had to incorporate that box of stuff into your film.
Oh.
And then you had to write it, shoot it, edit it, and turn it in 48 hours. And somehow, I don't know how, my role actually had no lines. It was a silence. There was no voiceover. It was all musically driven.
Okay. And
I won Best Actor for this role. In the
so
whole short
were
film.
You doing physical comedy? Why?
No, it was what was it about now? It was about a guy like a daydreamer who was and sorry, and there was a little bit of dialogue, but it wasn't dialogue driven at all. There was very, 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 very little bits. But generally speaking, it was just following me, and I'm avoiding something, and I'm hiding from something. And it turns out, my wife, my girlfriend, whoever she was, left me and devastated me, and I never let go. And it was that, this descent into, it started kind of almost lighthearted in the dream, and it was a descent into the realization of where you were. Right. And it didn't really need dialogue, just through good directing, really, and good editing. I don't care, if you're an actor.
Oh yeah, no, it makes a big difference.
Every Best Actor award should go to the editor, because trust me, that's who's going to make you shine. And so anyway, so I won this Best Actor award. And I was like, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then the Vancouver Film School came through Edmonton, doing a recruiting thing.
Oh, okay.
So I went to this thing, and they were looking for actors to come up to demonstrate some stuff, and they're doing some improv, whatever, and I volunteered myself. I totally said, okay, I'll come up.
Right.
And just was goofing around and, gagged it at the end or something. And everybody laughed. And it was just such a gag. But at the end of it, they said, you're in. You should apply, you're in.
Yeah.
And I remember it felt a little bit like a used car salesman. How are you doing? You're approved. What? No, just how you said, how are you doing? You're approved. They love that. The banks
That
love
commercial where you're approved, approved.
Yeah, it felt like I was approved. And then I was like, oh. And I remember talking to Calamus, Peter Calamus. He was a huge, I should call him and tell him how much of an influence he had on me. And I think I have told him that. But
Right.
And I told him, I said, hey, I've kind of been accepted, anecdotally into this program. Like, what do you think of classes and stuff? And he said, well, classes are good and not good depending, and school, full time. I don't know. You might have some better results doing this. Well, how much is it? I said, it was $25,000. No, it was
30.
Back then it was 14 or 15.
Oh, it's cheap. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was cheaper back then.
It's double now.
I know. And as soon as I said 14,000, he said, "Fuck me, what? No,
no." 500. Okay.
No, yeah.
But...
And he said, no. Look, you come. I'll connect you with some great teachers and some instructors. Take their classes, and that's how you start. You already have a background for me and this and that, and those classes were essential to me because I'd never auditioned for film and TV. I'd never gone through that. I hadn't actually, all the plays that I'd done. It's funny, and I was just casting them, or I wrote them, right? So there was no audition process. I had no idea how to audition or create this, create the environment that you're pretending to be in. Eye line, setting,
all of that,
all this stuff, and I had no idea. And Andrew McElroy, I took his class, and I studied with Andrew for 3 years, and he's really one of the only people I've studied with in Vancouver, and he gave me a career. Not he never cast me in anything, but
right. But he showed you how to, which is great.
Yeah.
Because that's what it comes down to. Yeah. Once you know how to do that and go through the motions of, because it's every time, right?
Yep.
And then just people walking in, they're going, well, if I get this audition, I'll be Brad Pitt or whatever it is. They think they're instantly going to be. And a lot of people, the first kick at the can, if it doesn't be successful, why did I go to film school? How come I owe $30,000?
Yeah. And I'm not going to knock film school. I'm not going to knock.
No, it does help
VFS,
in certain things.
And there could be, I guess, reasons. But look at Kevin Smith. He was the example. I think he went to VFS and said, "I'm going to."
And he's the king.
Took his $10,000 and just went into
indie
film.
movies.
Yeah,
he's the king of them. So
yeah, and now you can do these, right? I mean, like these. Back when I started, it was like we had a DVX 100 and a Dream. Right?
Yeah.
And there was that first time when he shot. Still wasn't HD, but it had the 24p.
Oh,
it shot at cinema quality 16:9.
Yeah.
And the Canon GL1 was the one before that, and that was a 4.3 still, and all of a sudden you get to this, the Panasonic, and it would just, oh my God, it looks so good. It still looks good, really. I mean. And yeah. So it's but now it's even. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Oh, now on your phone's high.
I'm shooting
definition.
4K on my iPhone for crying out loud.
Go.
And we can pick iPhone video apart all the time, but it's pretty good.
Oh yeah, it's got to the point to where technology is cheap. It really comes down to I personally own a camera, a Zoom recorder, which basically works as
I have a Zoom. I have an H2, sure. Yeah.
And what was a couple of things, a camera, that, and basically do my own projects really easily.
Yeah.
And film stuff, and it comes out high def, and I put it out there, and
and that's something though too. That I think even just kind of what you've talked about or what we're getting into now is that I make my living as a comedian and as an actor. If I'm the director of your production, you might be in trouble. Like I don't have that. Yeah, I mean I could do it, but I don't have that gear. But
right,
I work as an actor. If you want to need an actor, great. If you need a comedian, great. That being said, I can edit as well, right? Like I can run Final Cut. I can do these other things, and those experiences. I'm a hobbyist photographer. Right. So suddenly when you're, when I'm on set, and this is why it's so important to be, in the restaurant business, I always said every waiter should work in the dish area for a couple shifts.
So So
you learn and play your roles and know how these things work together. And when you're sitting there on set and the director says, "Okay, I really like this. Let's leave the 85 and let's go to a 50." Well, I know what that's going to do. I know what we're doing now. I know he's opening.
Why he's going wider? Yeah.
Why is he going wide? But I know he's going wider because I know 85 to 50 goes wider. I know.
Right.
I know what that will look like. I have an idea. I have when they're editing, when we're shooting it, I'm like, oh, I can see how they're going to cut this potentially together. And that influences my decisions as an actor in those situations, and I can play into that. And lots of actors too. And this is where I fall apart because I don't watch a lot of TV or movies,
right?
And I should. But
we're in the industry a lot, so I don't watch a lot either.
We don't, but I find more and more a lot of people are doing, So in this scene, okay, you saw Porky's, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so when he has his wiener in the hole, so we're going for that scene. And you're like, well, geez, but I never saw that scene. Like I didn't. That's a bad example, but in like they're trying to recreate these big old epic shots. Like in this movie, and I'm like, oh yeah, and I've never seen the movie. I have
right?
No idea.
You have no idea.
So that's my shortcoming. I should watch more because it's what we do, not from an entertainment standpoint, from an educational standpoint. Watch these epic films, and so I'm slowly in that process of and I'm learning a ton.
Well, and also, do you because you're an actor, do you pick apart acting like when you watch a movie and you can tell when one's really bad actor and the other two people are sensational, right? And you pick that over because a lot of people can't tell the difference. It's weird. But if you're an actor, you're in that world, you can tell, oh, they're struggling or whatever. Like,
it's tough sometimes. I have a hard time still with like, okay, I have to really be like, do I not like this actor or do I not like this character?
Right.
Because that's
the determination. Yeah.
Excuse me. So. And also sometimes too with like what's a good example? Battlestar Galactica, like when they rebooted it.
Okay.
That first 3-4 episodes, oh boy, I almost didn't make it. Right, like it was not great.
Right.
I'm like, it wasn't gelling somehow. Stargate Universe when it first Climax was in that. Josh Blacker, a lot of great. It wasn't gelling for me. And then somewhere, and they were finding their way. They're
it takes a while.
It together, and then it just became this boom epic series, and you're like, oh,
yeah,
wow.
They can't all be. Well, my example is Breaking Bad, right out of the gate, boom, punch you in the face, like
but
wow.
I mean, that's not to,
that's writing.
But that's also writing, and you're this whole Bryan Cranston, and come on, wow, yeah, those guys are epic.
But that's my example of really good.
Yeah, right out of the gate, sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
But all these episodes, I know what you're talking about. It takes a couple episodes usually for people to get into their own. Even not just the actors, the writers, everybody.
Yeah.
Once it starts flowing, 3 episodes in, boom, it's like.
Yeah. But then even coming back, so, but having that overall knowledge base and that experience base in different aspects of what you're doing. All the crew should try acting. Everybody should, I'm not saying walk up to the director of the production you're on right now and say, I think I might be okay at this. Can I get a line? Like maybe stop short of that. But, you can explore these things and learn from it because it's going to enhance, for stand-up, I say, I don't care what kind of performance you're doing. I don't care if it's sketch or film and TV or stand-up or improv. Whatever live action performance you're giving is going to make you a better performer in all the other aspects as well.
Oh yeah,
it's going to improve it, and in the same way, if you have some sort of knowledge of crew, if a respect for what they do, a knowledge of why they're doing it. Not that you could do it. Not that you could ever. I would never sit there and say, "Well, obviously I can be a lighting guy now."
Yeah. Just because.
No. But I understand when to be out of the way. I understand when I understand when I have to be out of their way, and I understand when they have to be out of my way.
Right.
And that's an important dance to be able to do. And a lot of the time, you have to be out of their way.
Exactly, because you're not the one in charge. You're not above that line.
I'm not, and I'm, hey, at the end of the day, I'm paid. I'm there the shortest amount of time. Paid the most for my time. And these
I've had
these guys,
all the actors are just meat puppets. That's what he says, right? I'm like laughing. I'm like, oh my god,
dude,
why would you say that?
It's it's totally.
Excuse me.
Hey, it is because when you get to the point, not that I'm anywhere big, but at the point where I'm at now, when I go in for a role, maybe they're looking at, I don't know, 5 to 10 people for that role.
Right.
Everybody going in for it could do a great job. everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody could do a great job. So it's now they're looking for something, right? They're looking for that one thing,
right?
And so in that way, no, I'm not that special. I just happened to remind the director of his crazy uncle that he wrote this part about.
Okay.
Because I had this one eyebrow thing that he used to do that I did in the audition.
And it reminded him, and
and it reminded him. Or when I walked into the room, I scuffled my feet, and that who knows? Like they always say, like you've landed the role before you even get to your mark.
Well, that's just it. I listen to a lot of podcasts or different things, but one of the comedians, Joey Coco Diaz, talked about doing auditions.
Yeah.
And one of the big things he learned was they just have to remember you. He says, if you make an impression, it doesn't matter how well you do the line. This is what he says. Who knows? It's always different for everybody. But if you impress them or whatever, they'll call you back. He's walked in out of auditions and been like, okay, I screwed that up, but whatever. And he laughs because he ripped off his shirt and he's like got a big cut and whatever, doesn't care. And they called him back.
Dude, the biggest the biggest audition of my life was that. I walked out going, but I didn't even know who it was for.
Oh, okay.
I walked in and it was an improv thing, and they wanted to just improv around an idea. So 2 different ideas, and or no, it was one idea. Anyway, but they gave us like the context of the scene, and they're the worst because you go in with other comedian or other actors who have never improvised in their entire life. They don't, they're not good at it. Not that I'm great at it, but they don't. And you're like now stuck doing a scene with these. It's just the drizzle.
Exactly. It's not written down exactly like that. You're like, no, you have to be a living improv kind of thing and be a part, be that role, be that person.
Doing. Yeah. And I went in and did the audition and walked out and well, that's cool. I don't have to worry about blocking that week.
No shit.
That didn't work out. And I just tried to exist in that scene. Like I remember, there's another guy in there. And he was driving it. He was really driving the scene. He was trying to be the star of it. And I'm like, all right, cool, because I'm not going to compete with this because then we're just butting heads. So I'll just going to work with it. I'm gonna. It's water off a duck's back. I'm gonna be the antithesis.
Well, you're going with the flow. You're just like let it happen. Whatever you want to be a boss, go ahead.
Well, but you have to because that's how the dynamic has to work. If you have one guy, playing the dominant role, well then I'm going to go the other way, and that makes me different, and that makes me now we can do something. But yeah, I mean, I let that scene go, and I said, okay, well this is whatever it is, and it's like a rednecky type thing, like a foobar type scene,
right?
And then I got back, and the next day it was for a short, an ultra low budget short, and then my agent calls and says, so the director wants to meet with you. I was like, for what? For your audition yesterday. I was like, really?
That's weird.
I'm like, yeah. Oh, and that's happened. Not a lot, but that's happened more times than you think. You're gonna leave the audition going, ugh, like what am I doing? I can't keep showing up and just mailing it in like that, or not connecting, or not doing what I had in my head I was going to be doing. And then getting a call saying you booked it or they want to see you again.
Because your head has the expectations that builds it up, and then when you leave and you're so disappointed, you aren't that director. You're not the writer. You're not the person going, that was perfect. That was really understated, but that's exactly what we're looking for.
And that's actually why I love auditioning, because you don't know why you didn't get it. You also don't know why you did get it. Yeah. Like now, in one story, I did have a casting director say, "This is horrible."
That's hilarious. Who says that to you? Oh my god!
I don't want to say his name.
I know. I don't mean.
But he's wonderful, and I've seen him every now and then. And it was one of those things. I just went for a risk, and to be fair to him, it probably was horrible. And I went for it, and he's like, and I added this line into the process, because I'll always add little things. I don't think you have to be. Yeah, you have to be memorable. You have to make it special. You make it your own. Like I'll add little moments that I don't think other people would add. I'll look for something that I don't think other people would see, and my comedic background will aid me in that. And I was going for this, like playing a nerdy guy, but I'm a good guy,
right?
But I'm on the wrong side, So I'm a bad guy, but I'm a good guy.
You're with bad people.
Yeah, and so
Right
I went
with Brad Crowd.
So I went way over the top, with this creepy sort of thing. And then I added this line in. Was that too far? I'm just trying to fight the whole nerdy thing. Sorry, I not to. And I get to this line that I've added. Sorry, was that too far? And the director was like, yes. Yes. Sorry, this is horrible.
Oh, my God.
Can we just start again and do it straight? I went, no problem. And they left it when, thanks for being part of the meltdown, buddy. And I didn't see him again for 3 years. But you know what? We're past that point. I've seen him since. I've had callbacks. I've booked stuff with him since. But I don't see him not out of anything else. And he doesn't cast stuff that I do. That's not in my wheelhouse. And so, or maybe he still hates me. I don't know. I don't care. I don't think he cares either.
hates you.
I don't think so either. But
because you deal with so many people too. You know what I mean? You can't take it personally. That's what I found in film.
Yeah.
Don't take it personally. If you get bumped because someone else goes in there, they'll be like, oh, well, someone must hate me. That's not the case. It's like I worked with this lady for a long time and I want her back. That's why. Like, you don't even know the reason. You're taking it personally like you're really horrible. But I'm sure in audition the same thing. Rejection is... You have to get used to it.
Right, but you're never really rejected. Like in that one moment, in that one story, and I love telling that story. It's funny. Actors always tell you it's great. And like, so anyway, I nailed it, and here's how. And I'm
they tell you the good stories.
Yeah, and then I'm like, oh, I hate those stories. No, tell me the awful stories.
Yeah.
Like, I love talking to actors. Like, tell me the worst time ever. Just let's enjoy this moment. And so, but you don't know. Like, you leave, and they might have loved you.
Right.
They might have sat there talking with you for half an hour. Like, I don't know which way to go, and they just went the other way for whatever reason.
Right.
They went the other way, but they loved you, and then that director-producer is going to remember you.
That's right.
And 2 years, 3 years, 10 years, who knows? Maybe never.
Yeah.
You get, and that's happened to me. And so I know these things can happen. And then going back to the crazy moment, so then my agent calls about, well, this director wants to meet with me, and I said, oh, well, and it goes to show I know nothing about this business.
Right.
And she said, have you heard of Neil Blomkamp? And I was like, nope. And she said, have you seen District 9? I said, oh, yeah, I love it. I watched it last week. She said,
I do.
He wrote and directed that.
Right.
Like, what? And then I get a call from...
Big Hollywood director, like...
A big Hollywood director. And then I got a call from a dear friend who I don't see nearly as much as I should, Josh Blacker, who's a director. He was in Stargate Universe with Peter Klamath and Gilmore, and
I worked at Bridge Studios at the time.
Yeah.
I know him. Okay.
Yeah. So he's a buddy of mine, and he had a great role in Elysium with Matt Damon.
I remember that. Yeah.
He had a big fight scene with Damon, the whole bit. And so now I haven't told anybody I'm meeting with Neil. And so all of a sudden I get a text message from Josh saying, "Dude, so happy for you. Neil's gonna love you." And I'm like, how the fuck do you know? Like, I'm texting him back, like, how do you know about? I haven't told anybody. Like, Sarah knows, my wife, but that's it. And he said, I'm having a beer with him right now. And I was like, what the fuck?
That's hilarious.
And they were just talking shop, and Neil had just happened to say,
calling this guy Toby. And
he said, yeah, and Josh like, so did you say, like, have you found the guy? And he said, yeah, I think I found this guy, and his name's Toby. And Josh was like, Hargrave? Oh, you know him? And so,
that's hilarious. There's a small world here.
It's such a small world, and not only that, like, I just happen to have a dear friend who's a big fan now talking to this Oscar-nominated director.
Wow.
Singing my like you don't get a better situation than that.
No doubt.
And then I met with Neil, and we had a great, we got along really well, and he said, okay, well, you're the guy. And I was like,
nice.
I'm looking for the balloons. Like, aren't they supposed to fall out of the sky? Like
confetti cans.
Yeah, and it was for this project, and he said, and he cast me as the lead, kind of sitting there with this other character who's going to be I think I can say it's like it was a puppet.
Oh, okay.
And but I played this guy's puppet's best friend, and it's not just a basic puppet. It was a crazy. Neil's posted pictures of it online here and there. And so I'm like, I walk away from this going like, and Neil was saying, hey, don't quit your day job, right?
This isn't, you've made it.
Don't stop going to the odd commercial audition. Stick around, but and
you're hearing the Oscar theme music and shit.
Oh, you're just walking away going like, you don't know how to process what just happened, and nothing did.
And that was it.
And it fell apart. Like, that project just never went. Now, Neil and I went on to be friends, and we still are friends, and we don't keep in touch like we used to. But those relationships, now, we did work together.
Right.
3 years later on a whole different project that he's doing with Oat Studios here in town. And he's doing some amazing stuff. And I'm so lucky to have been involved in the stuff I was. And so, and it might be in the future, but you don't know. And this project, I walked out of the meeting thinking my life has changed. I got that break.
Yeah.
And that didn't happen. But what did happen was I made a great friend. And we ended up working together in the future, not necessarily on what we did, but who knows what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah, exactly. That's almost like the story of you and me. When I first met you, it was I was raising money for a short I was doing, and you showed up with Peter to my poker thing. And I was like,
right.
I was like, oh, no. And I got the money for it, and I did this thing. And then later on, I remembered you, and I saw you online and stuff. And then I was going to cast you for one of the things I was doing, but that fell apart. Same thing. And I was like, oh, Toby's perfect for this role, and but then it fell apart, and it didn't work out. I went my own way, and you went your own way.
And whatever. And now we're here doing a podcast.
Exactly, but that's
small world. That's a really important point for anybody listening to this or listens to it in the future. If you're in the business, and this is really important if your partner isn't, you let them know, hey, I have to go to this poker game.
Right.
Because this is work. As silly as that sounds.
Yeah.
As silly and as when Sarah and I started dating, I said, first off, are you the jealous type? Because this isn't going to work. Because I said, I promise you, I will send you a text message before I cheat. But you
travel a lot. You were traveling around, and
right. And what she doesn't know, but and I've always that's one of my most proudest. I've always been faithful, but. The point is that when you're the center of attention, you have people, you're put in situations. As an actor, you might have a love scene, you have something like that. And
right.
And are you the kind of person that gets jealous? And number two, I'm really sorry. I'll just say this one time right now. I'm really sorry that what I do is a lot of fun. And when I go out to the Urban Well or to whatever open mic night you're doing, you're hanging out, having fun, you're trying out new material, you're working,
joking around with comedians, hanging
joking around. I'm sitting there. I shot a pilot. And we went out for the cast dinner, and I'm like hanging out with some pretty crazy people.
Yeah.
And Sarah's not there, and I'm like, this is work. This is work. And like you're just saying, I went with you to a poker game. I don't know what Sarah was doing that night. Went to your house for a poker game, and that could have turned into something else.
Yeah, exactly.
And it had the potential to. The Granger brothers. Unbeknownst to me, I'd done something somewhere, and they wanted me to be in something they were doing. It was a clown thing, and I think they're reshooting it now. And for whatever reason, my website balked on I never got the email. It was crazy.
Oh.
And we end up on set, but they said something. They were like, boy, you and I were at this thing. I don't know if you remember, and we did the thing. Whatever, but we saw you there. That's why we loved you. And then we wanted to get you for a thing we can't, and we were shooting Rapture Palooza.
Oh, okay.
And I was playing that's the one IMDb credit I could lose. The character's name is Guy on Toilet.
That's hilarious. And, I saw that. Yeah.
And actually, that my role is in the trailer for the movie.
Oh wow!
But like my whole shtick, my whole thing I did for that movie was in the trailer, and it's me getting sucked off a toilet. You gotta, I guess, it depends where the comma goes in that sentence.
Is it also in the movie though, or is it just like they put it in the trailer and then cut it?
And it is in the movie too.
Okay.
So, but it's just, 10 second, 5-second thing, and but they were shooting it. Matty Granger was running B-Cam that day, and so he was just shooting this really quick scene for me, and then we connected there, and then he had me come in and do. I played Santa Claus in this Dracula short thing he had.
Okay.
And he just called me and said, "Hey, you'd be great for this Santa." And now all of a sudden that I meet like Peter New, and I meet Alex Ponovic again, and I'm Ryan Robbins, and Ryan Robbins went on to who's just the sweetest man in northern Vancouver here.
Oh, okay.
Or in North
I've never
Hollywood.
met him.
became a dear friend, and you don't know where these moments are coming, and you have to embrace them while you're still able. I'm 44. I have 2 kids. I live on the Sunshine Coast now, and I don't get out as much. I don't.
Yeah, you're not as social as
I'm not
you
as
used to be.
I don't like people.
Yeah, as I get older,
I like the people that I like.
Right, me too.
I'm dedicated to where I'm going to put my time into, but yeah, I don't know.
And plus, years and years of stand-up, you're always dealing with lots of people all the time. It was like a never-ending thing, and you had to do it for a job.
And that's come back to bite me in the butt now, because I don't want to. I never put the time in to learn anybody's. Great. We're never going to see each other again. But thank you very much for coming. Yeah.
Right. And
now when I meet people, I'm like, I have to know their names.
Yes.
And I walk away because they're on the PTA board, or these are going to be people regularly in my life.
Right.
And I've known them for 2 years, and I'm like, I'm way past the point of asking them their name, and I should know who they are.
That's what film's like.
Yeah.
You work with someone for 2 years, elbow rubbing elbows. Oh, Bill, Jim, whatever. They're buddies of mine, and then I don't see them for 4 years, and then I go back and I'm like, what's your name again?
Right, but that's the weird part of the film business too. Like you'll sit there, like you and I might be on a project together, and I see you. Mm-hmm. I just did it's called Gravity. They're shooting. It's not Gravity. It's a Fright Night, whatever the. Anyway, I just shot something, and bunch of people that I knew. Like you see all the familiar faces.
Oh, wait, was it the Twilight Zone one?
Twilight Zone, thank you.
That was a Twilight. I was going to ask you about that because Twilight Zone. I grew up with that. Like, you must have been honored even just to be a part of it. Like,
you know how cool that was too. What was really cool with that was it was not a huge role, but it was a great role. It was like 4 or 5 days, and I went out for audition for a different role in a different production, because they're all episodic, so there's no it's all different cast. Peele's going to be the only one that carries through hosting it.
Okay.
And I didn't get it, right? So I went in, had the audition. I think it looked positive. Like, I think I was pinned for it. And then it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
No, all right. So I know they love me. I know they really like me. Something happened. They went a different way. And then I got a call to come back in, and my agent's like, you know what? Don't. This is, good for me to come in. It's $100.
Yeah.
And so they said, no, just you know what? No, let me work on this. And they just made the offer, and I just got an offer on it, and I came in and did it, and had a great time.
Nice.
And hung out with some great people, and just it was that was a lot of fun. But I've had I've had one bad experience on a set.
Oh, really? What was that? What happened?
Oh, dude, I was a stand-in.
Okay, I was going to ask if you did stand-in work.
I did. Okay, I started doing extra work.
Okay.
Which I think everybody should do.
That's why I started. I loved it.
Yeah, it was interesting. And extras are a whole different ball of wax.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I just remember, like, my favorite overheard was like, and that's when I told Wesley Snipes to fuck off. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm sure.
Yeah, okay, okay, yeah.
And, but even that's kind of a funny story. When I first started doing, when we moved here, Urban Well was open, and actors would come by, and Robin Williams was in town. And I got to meet Robin Williams, and I got to.
Was it the Night Museum movies?
No, well, the first one, when he came back, but the first one I met him for was RV.
Oh, okay.
And he was at Urban Well, and we hung out. One night, we just had a great
He's a sweetheart.
night together. Sweet, and remembers your name, like not just because it was me.
Oh yeah,
he always remembered everybody's name. And,
knew my name every day.
Yeah,
I worked on Night Museum too.
Did you? Incredible, hey! And he just
unreal.
And and I saw him one night, and we hung out for like 4 hours, just having a great time. And wonderful guy. And I said, hey, half joking, half put it out into the ether. I'm like, hey, looking forward to working with you one day. And we just done a show, but on set. And he goes, yeah. And the next day I got a phone call to be an extra. This had nothing to do with Robin Williams. just it was whatever. And they didn't want me. They wanted the car.
Really?
Yeah, because it was a big traffic jam, and I'm playing a role in the traffic jam.
Oh, I see.
And they wanted, so we're all camping. So I have a red kayak I put up on the roof and put some stuff in the back of the car, a bike or something. And I had a big Volvo station wagon, and go up and this really one of my first times on set. And this extra comes up beside me. He was telling me about his prostate. Like, I don't even know how this happened. Like, and I'm milking his. Like, I'm like, what is going? It was just awful. And he said, well, they're not going to, just so you know, they're not going to use your car. I said, what? And he says, well, the red kayak, it's going to pull from the shot, so they're not going to use the car. I said, but I get paid, right? And like, oh, yeah, you get paid. Like,
Yeah.
oh, great. Okay. What
do I care? Yeah.
Well, like, I'm not here to be discovered. So sure enough, and I'm way off. Like, I could probably be on the roof of my car watching them shoot it.
And not be seen.
And so I'm not even paying attention. All of a sudden, there's like at the window of my car, I'm like, oh, and I roll down it's a PA, and I'm like, literally, I'm just like, I'm such an insecure comedian. I'm like, am I in trouble? What did I do wrong?
Yeah.
And they said, no, the director wants you to turn around and come back. And they ended up putting my car directly in front of the RV. Like,
oh, wow. Right front center.
Yeah, front and center. Like, I can tilt my rear view mirror and watch the scene right behind me.
Wow.
And Robin's in the RV. And also, so we take a break, and we're outside of the car, and this extras comes walking over. Hey, it's the prostate dude. He's like, hey, so they're using your car. That's great, isn't it?
He's known as the prostate dude.
Like, you're going to be in the scene, man. I was like, well, I don't think I'm in the scene. Like, maybe the roof of my car or something.
Right.
And he's like, yeah, that's great. Then a PA came by and needed my name, spelling my name for the check. Because I got $40 for props or something. They're paying us out because my props that I brought.
Oh, it is separate with the car thing. I know how that works. Yeah.
But it was kind of the thing.
It's not included in your background.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and then nobody was getting paid for their props. Like, but maybe because I was in the shot, that's why I was getting paid. I don't know but this guy was like, "You're getting paid? Oh, we're going to file a grievance because this is just it was filing grievances And he said, well, good for you, getting paid for your... And just then Robin comes out around the side, and I just seen him, like, 2 days earlier.
Right.
And he sees me, we make eye contact, he goes, hey, T, how you doing, buddy? I said, good, buddy, what's going on? He goes, Tuesday? Will I see you Tuesday? I said, I'll see you Tuesday, man. And he goes, all right, good. And then he walks away, and this extra looks
wow.
Who the fuck are you? I said, I don't know. This is surreal. This is all surreal. And so,
that's hilarious.
And we go on with more, but anyway. But I did this extra stuff, and I did stand-in on Alcatraz.
I remember Alcatraz.
Yeah, and I was standing for the pilot. I got a call, and I wasn't doing extra work then. I got a call from an extra agency that I used to, In Motion.
I remember. Yeah, I know Motion.
Yeah, and they just called me out of the blue and said, "Hey, look, I'm not calling to see if you're interested. I'm just letting you know there's an offer for you." Somebody knows who you are, and do stand-in for.
It's mostly at Riverview.
Where were we? We were all over the map.
Oh, okay.
We were on set and we were on locations, and Riverview. Yeah, we did. No, anyway, we were around town, and they wanted me to be the stand-in for Jorge Garcia, the big guy from Lost.
Yeah, I know who that
is. I
is.
used to get that quite a bit. Now I get Haggard, from Harry Potter.
Oh yeah.
And so it was January. I was dead. I'm like stand-in work, and I confused stand-in with body double. So I was like, oh, cool. Like I'll get to run some scenes with some cool people and, do some stuff. And yeah, and I'll make some money. Yeah, no. For sure. Like, let's embrace the opportunity.
It'll be fun, yeah.
Come.
Improv, saying yes.
Yeah, just
yes, and?
Yes, and I should have said no.
Yeah.
And so I get onto the set for the first day. My car broke down the day before, so it's in the shop. That's only important because I took a cab to get to set. Right, it's outside. It's pouring rain. I have my laptop with me, and I get onto set, and I'm looking for the circus, and and it's kind of now I'm looking for my trailer, and I can't find my trailer, and so I'm like, oh well, makeup's right here, so or wardrobe was there, and I walked into wardrobe, and they said, hey, I'm Toby, I'm here, I'm just here for any wardrobe, and she said, you're fine. I was like, what? Oh, you know what? Because I'll probably just put his coat on or something, right?
Right.
All right, cool. And then I go to makeup, and I'm like, I have no idea. Like, I'm sure I'm not having a close up here, being the stand-in. But is there anything? He's like, no. And everybody's kind of. I'm getting this really like people are confused why.
But they don't tell you why.
No, they were super cool. Like nobody overtly judged me. I'm pretty sure I closed the door and like, what the fuck was that guy?
Yeah.
And then I get to the extras wrangler. And I said, hey, where are the trailers? And she's like, who are you? And I said, I'm Toby Hargrave. I'm the stand-in for Jorge Garcia. She said, yeah, you don't have a trailer. And I remember saying to her, I said, okay, I know I don't have a trailer, but like a sliver? She said, no. And I said, what am I doing? She said, I don't know. What are you doing? I said, I'm the stand-in. What is going on? having never been a stand-in, like I'm not a body double. I'm not the guy in the scene like Jorge goes for lunch and they want to get one more take, so I step in with his jacket on. They're going to shoot over my shoulder. No, I'm not that guy. I'm the guy that stands in. I pretend to be Jorge while they're setting up the scene.
Yeah. And that's what stand-ins are.
I had no idea.
Oh, so you thought it was a body double? That's
yeah,
what
I totally thought body double. I had no idea. So I had to go back to the costume trailer and say, "Look, I'm really sorry. Can I leave my laptop here? I didn't know. I feel really silly. I would never have brought my laptop to set.
Yeah.
If
I knew. Yeah.
If I knew that I was basically an extra and." So I won't.
Who's
do it
not
in the
on
future.
film?
Who's not on film?
Yeah.
An extra has more screen time than me out of this.
Oh, people live in that stand-in position.
I know.
Years and years.
Well, because they got the credits years ago, right? So they're sitting there at $20 an hour to.
And yeah, golden handcuffs. I heard. It's hard to get away from those golden handcuffs. They're like you're making money. You can't pursue your acting or whatever. You just.
And people get lost in the stand-in career too. Like these people, like they're like it's good money and working all the time, but I'm like nobody knows who you are.
Yeah.
Like you're standing.
I could see it if you were doing your own independent projects and something you just want a paycheck. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
I can see it.
Yeah. And as a tool, and
just like a PA background. Yeah.
I'm really glad that I did it because I had this newer. When it backfired later, because I always said, "Boy, if I ever make it in any way, I don't want to be that guy. Like I don't want to be that dick."
Right.
The extras, I get it. Stand-ins, I get it. Like. I really want to make, and we're on set filming, and Psych. I was filming Psych. I had a guest star in Psych.
I did background on that.
Did you? Well, it's funny. NBA. So I'm there. We're like Fraser and Sixth, and it's kind of a yucky day, and these poor extras are standing on this muddy hill, and crew's going back and forth. And I said to somebody on crew, like, can we get these extras a seat or something? Like, and the guy's like, I don't know, and off he goes. And I'm like. Fuck it. You know what? My truck is a block away. And so I told the PA, hey, I'll be right back. I'm just going to my truck. I'll be right back. And I had some beach chairs in my truck.
Oh, okay.
Some folding
chairs. Lawn chairs, yeah.
So I bring out the chairs and I bring them up to these extras and I'm like, hey guys, I'm sorry, but like thanks for being here. And I gave them a chair, put it out and said, just leave them here and I'll collect them at the end of the day. So we go inside and we're setting up for the scene and I hear somebody in the background going, who the fuck gave the fans some chairs? And I was like, what?
Fans?
They're fans. They're like these Psych fans that have sourced out, like, they figured out where they're filming. And they're sneaking around on set. And I'm the fucking idiot that shows up and gives them...
Because you thought they were background.
I thought they were background and whatever. So I gave them chairs and welcomed them to the set. Told them where Crafty was. And...
you told them where Crafty was?
Of course. I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to be... Anyway,
that's so funny. I have a couple stories of exactly those stories. One was Supernatural.
Yeah.
And it was they have a lot of super fans too, which I wasn't a big Supernatural fan. I knew it existed, but I didn't know it, and didn't know the stars or anything. Anyway, one time we were filming out in Fort Langley, and I had to hold back 60 women. They were all middle-aged women. Mm-hmm. Probably like 80% of them were all middle-aged women, and I had to hold back between 50 and 60 of them that were fans. They came out to Fort Langley in the middle of nowhere to watch us do these night scenes. It was like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
I'm holding them back, and they're like, oh, yeah. They all knew my name. They thought it was great. They're like, oh, Mike's the sweetest. I'm like, oh, god damn, eh? But that was when I had those big fans. And then one time I mistook a guy for being background. I didn't realize. And... the first time, we were behind the number 5 orange in the alley.
Yeah.
Yep. And this guy goes to walk out with his cart filled with stuff. We're talking like it's East Van. There's some homeless. And this guy's like, and I run up. I'm like, hey, man, no, can you, whatever. And he's like, I'm background. I'm like, oh. So I let him go, right? And it was a background guy dressed up like a homeless guy. And I was like, okay. The next time, we set up a different setup. This other guy walks out in the scene. Well, it is a homeless guy. But I let him go because I'm thinking, oh, yeah, it's just a background. So same idea. They're like, who let that guy go?
Where did their brand new red Epic? What? Oh, no. I mean, so much. I don't know. I didn't see a thing.
Do you want to take a break?
No. I'm good. I was just looking at my phone there to make sure I get a read of my parking there. But
Oh, okay.
But not right now, and I can do it from my phone, so I'm good.
Oh, great. Yeah, because I'm going to go till about 3:30, so we still have 45 minutes.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Yeah, and I'll probably cut up this part.
Well, no, but this is the fun part to keep.
That's true.
But
a lot of the podcasts have that, little extra parts.
Yeah, no, it's boy, this is a great podcast just on its own. I haven't heard your other one, so I don't know how organized they are.
Well,
I'm getting a total wing it type.
I'm totally focusing on people who do multiple things. They work in the industry to do the thing for a paycheck.
Sure.
And then they do things on the other side because they're creative people. Yeah. And you're the first comedian I've gotten, but all these other people are people who work in the industry as either a grip or a PA or something, and also do indie stuff. And it's just remarkable. It's just mind-blowing. Mm-hmm. Like when I watch that Tell Us thing and you're like joking about how I got to combat laziness. Remember the whole thing, right?
Undiagnosed case of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It blows my mind when I got into film watching these people that don't need sleep, it seems. They always work. Yeah. I had a DP for I directed a kids show and I wrote and directed a kids show, and he worked at Supernatural all day long, came at 9 at night to me, and then filmed till 9 in the morning as my DP, and didn't flinch the whole time. And it's just mind blowing. It's that there's people like that.
My wife's like, not like that, but I am such a delicate flower. I still, I remember coming back. I was on a Christmas movie with Knight Rider, Hasselhoff.
Okay.
And I come back. It was a long day, 13 hours.
Wow.
And I walk in the door and Sarah say, "How was your day?" I said, "Oh man, these 13-hour days are going to kill me." And she looked at me like with this like I'm a small stupid child, and she said, "That's what I do, right?
13 every day.
Every day that I go to work." And she's a nurse. She was a registered nurse.
Oh, that's why.
In the ICU, and so she's saving lives. Like she's
legitimately
saving lives, like holding people's hands while they die.
You're like,
thing.
Oh.
And I was like, "Oh yeah, good call, good point. Yeah, that is what you do." And so the next day she comes to set, and she's never been on a set before, and she was a little enamored with Hasselhoff and whatnot. And it was a great shoot, and we get there, and it was a good day too. Like some days are just a shit show, like nothing's working, in the makeup, breakfast. Everybody's so great with Sarah. They're welcoming her in. They took her to Video Village and like gave her a seat. And David was great. And
so she was mesmerized. Eh? She was like,
it was just a great experience. And it was a busy morning. Like it was a productive day. Break for lunch. Like she saw a good day. And then I have one thing left to shoot. And I'm on the turnaround. It's just me. Like, and I'm a gag. The door opens and I go bah or whatever the line was. And and I'm like, so I said, because I did it to myself. I gooched it. I said, "Sarah, they're probably just going to shoot me out because, they're going to have to turn around and shoot me at the door. My character's not being shot with anybody really." And no, I was totally wrong. No. They filmed the whole scene with the stars,
right?
And I'm literally like that weird uncle in the thing, Cousin Jimmy, I think, which should give the character its full breadth of reach.
Cousin Jimmy.
And we sat there for 7 hours.
Wow.
And it was like an 18-hour day.
Yeah.
And like hour 3, and Sarah can't leave. Like we're in Maple Ridge, and I don't know when I'm gonna get called. You don't know. I'm like, "No, Sarah, you can't leave
because I can call you right back."
Like you can't. You're gonna have an hour. No, so. And about 3 hours of sitting there, she just looks at me and says, "So, this is what you do all day, huh?
This is your 13-hour day?
These are the days that are killing you, huh?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yeah, busted."
Hey, that's the way it goes, though. My wife came down and saw when I was on Arrow, and I was a van driver, and she was mesmerized. She'd never seen anything like it. She'd never seen... It's like an ant colony. There's like tons of people doing their job and all working together, but they don't even know each other's names.
No.
You have the electrics guys working beside the set deck guys who work beside the riggers. And they might know, but...
I had no idea. See, I didn't know you drove a van. So you right there done the hardest job.
Locations van driving, I think, is the hardest. I was doing over 105 days, 100 hours.
Unbelievable. Dude, like, exactly. Because you're... And it took me a while to realize this, but, when you have crew call at 7...
I'm there at 4:30.
Right.
I'm there before the PAs.
I'm thinking, the PAs are the first ones on. No.
I'm setting up the signs.
Van guys are the ones coming out.
Oh, yeah.
And you're there. Everybody has to go home.
Oh, I'm the last person. They give me
You're
all
the
their
last
vests.
person.
They give me all their walkies. They give me all the gear. I got it down to an art because I've done it for so long, and it was killing me. And I actually quit film because of that.
I could imagine.
When I was getting married, I saw how many relationships got ruined by people in crew, and they didn't.
Yeah.
It just fell apart because they're working so much. They see each other on Saturday night, and then 1 or 2 months a year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same thing in stand-up.
So I ended up doing the. There's a place called Parallel, and it did location gear, and they had to help me out with independent films I've done, and I knew them pretty good. And I went there and said, and they're like, "You want to start Monday?"
And this is where you were working right up until you had,
I got
had
sick.
to leave, until you got sick.
Yeah, I was actually at work.
Wow.
I was. Well, I want to talk about because do you mind talking about your dad?
No. I was just going to say because my dad was in the theater.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So my dad was a lighting director in the theater
Oh.
here in Vancouver. Actually, he's from around here, and met my mom. He used to joke that he found the woman that he wanted in a true caveman fashion, dropped a small piece of blipped her on the head, and dragged her off. It was a different time back then when he was saying that. So just put the pens down, relax.
No.
But he, a small piece of lighting equipment that he hadn't quite fastened properly fell on my mom's head, and that's how they met.
Oh, wow. And he felt horrible right over.
Oh, probably, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And funny if he was going to go to Australia, and he was going to be the lighting director for a ballet, I think, in Australia, and met my mom and just made the decision to go to Edmonton because why not? Edmonton, Australia, come on. But he met the woman of his dreams, and
follow her,
and followed her there, and then we had me, and so they got married in 6 months after they got married is when he was diagnosed.
Oh,
and
wow.
He started having moments like when you're saying about the balance and this, where he fell off a ladder. And some of his decision-making processes, he got tired quicker. And I remember hearing a story about him looking for a short in the lighting just by taking a screwdriver and sticking it in sockets, waiting for the sparks. Like,
wow.
Found it, and just making not the best decisions ever. And then he left that aspect of the business and went off to do other things. And ultimately,
Yeah. Well, it was. I have actually had some friends with MS, and all my life had donated charities and helped them out as best I could or whatever. But it's different for everybody. Some people are severe MS,
yes,
and it affects all parts of the body. When I talked to my neurologist,
sorry, excuse me,
no worries. When I talked to my neurologist, he was saying that everyone's different, and he knows people that have been diagnosed at 40, and they had a little problem with it, and then it went away, and then never came back, and they're 65, living fine.
Yep.
And there's other people who get MS, and within a month, they're in a wheelchair.
Yeah, and it's it affects everybody differently. The onset is different. The only thing that's changed from when my dad had it to today is there's treatments. Like they have a better understanding of it.
So when did he pass away?
He passed away in 1985.
Wow.
So I was 10. So
I'm sorry to hear that, dude. But you were a kid, right?
Oh yeah, I was 10. And
I was 15.
And oh really?
In 85, yeah.
Oh, in 85, I was like, 15 when your dad died. He had MS too. Crazy. How did we not meet earlier? I would have sworn at somewhere like a support group or something. No, I kind of remember when he could walk. Like, he could walk on stuff, leaning on stuff, and he had the crutches, like the arm crutches that kind of grab your... And he had 2 of those, and then he went into a wheelchair. And, I remember he slept downstairs across the hall from me because he had the little apparatus, like the little swing. We called it a gym.
You pull yourself...
Bed,
yeah.
And he kind of went up and arced over the bed. And then it got to a point where we couldn't take care of him anymore. But that was I'm 8.
Yeah.
I knew how to do a catheter when I was 7 or 8.
And was he exactly like you? Does he because you were little and your mom to move you from a bed to whatever?
Oh no, he was a big guy. He was 6'4". He was 6'4".
Oh wow, 6'4".
Yeah, and so we had people. We were so lucky. My goodness. My grandfather was a doctor. He was an anesthetist.
Oh,
and
okay.
so we had maybe a little bit more access to certain things. And I think that we had, my mom worked really hard, and I think the family basically raised us, like the whole family. Like my 5 aunts and uncles, my grandparents, my mom, my dad. Everybody was. I got a paper route when I was 6. When I was 8, and that's how I afforded my school books. Like
Wow.
so, it was just the reality of that time, and so yeah, my dad, he was paralyzed from the waist down, and so he had a catheter and diaper, like basically, and
Oh yeah.
and so like I knew how to do change pads, and I knew how to change a catheter, and
Wow.
I still remember that first time when you just think it's like a lawnmower. Don't try to start a lawnmower. No, you can feel that. And then he went off to hospital, and then I think he was only in an auxiliary hospital for 2 years. But there weren't any treatments. Like there was nothing.
Now they have all kinds, and
There's all kinds, and different effects for different people. But he lost a lot of his upper body strength, and there just wasn't. Yeah, it would. Boy, I for him in that experience, it was a steady decline. Like there was no real moments of maybe this is going to turn around. No, it was a definitive.
well, it was early 70s when he was diagnosed.
So I was 71, I think it was when he was diagnosed.
Oh, before you're born.
Yeah. So that's my brother and I are almost Irish twins. We're 13 months apart
Oh wow.
because they were like, we got to get this done.
Yeah.
We got to crank him out, while we still can. And so, and then so 74. So he died in 85. So I was 10 and a half.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And what was it? Just was it the MS that took it?
It was like
things were shutting down his organs and stuff.
Yeah. Like I'm trying to think of like how it actually, like in the end, yeah, like he just kind of like the myelin sheath had just really deteriorated.
That's what. Yeah, basically.
And for him, it had just become like became a full body type thing. And I remember like I think my last clear memory is telling him about hockey. We just won minor hockey week, a gold medal, and like C division, so we're like the best of the worst.
Yeah.
We're like the bad news bears. And I told him, and he raised his eyebrows, like.
Good for you.
Yeah. Like there was a lot said in just an eyebrow raise, and I think he passed within a couple of weeks.
Wow.
A couple days of that, and it just I should ask my mom, like how did that? But it was MS and or MS related.
Yeah, it would be MS related because they say MS doesn't kill you. It's the complications of having MS that can.
Yeah, it's not the bullets that
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
end your life. It's a complication
Basically,
from what the
yeah.
bullets introduce to your body. And
Well, what I understood was my condition. They called it a clinical isolated syndrome.
yeah,
And it's a form of MS that is a couple of these lesions on the myelin sheath
Yeah.
that I have. One is on my cerebellum in my brain, and one is on my brain stem.
right.
And they're significant enough to cause my right hand doesn't work. I have cramping. I have a couple of different symptoms
Yeah.
that have come around, and it's been 2 years now.
Yeah.
And we do a bunch of MRIs, and it hasn't progressed that, or basically the guy who did the test says it progressed a bit, but then my neurologist says he doesn't think so.
Yeah.
So I got to go back in March to do it again. But I think it was you actually who convinced me to try the drugs. I've been fighting.
Oh well, that's interesting because we had a talk. I mean, leading up to this when we were talking about this, and
no one ever told me the good parts of it. It's always been bad. Pharmaceutical, don't take drugs.
Yeah.
Steroids are bad. You shouldn't do this.
yeah. Well, and boy, how do you put it? What's that like? Some people found Hitler charming,
Yeah.
right? It's
Norm Macdonald says his dog loved him.
yeah. Well, I can't remember what the comic was, but like, the more I learn about this Hitler guy, I don't like him. Monsanto's the devil, and pharmaceutical companies
Right.
certainly have their challenges, but I think you have to look at a bigger picture a little bit. pharmaceutical companies do vaccines. And and that's a really important thing. If you don't believe in vaccination, kill yourself. Don't take that the wrong way.
Drink this cyanide.
I mean it sincerely. But those pharmaceutical companies that ultimately came up with these vaccines wiped out polio. Wiped out mumps and measles. So they're
considered gods.
There are legitimate benefits to products that they put out. Are all products there? Do people use those products properly? Absolutely not. Are all their products necessary? 100% no. Are some of those products bad? 100% yes. Are some of those products good? Absolutely they're good.
Right.
And they've changed lives. So I don't know what those products are, and that's where your own education, educating yourself comes into it. But when I got sick, I had something called sarcoidosis, or sarcoidosis-like.
Right.
And
and you're saying similar to leukemia, or has a white blood cell thing?
Yeah, so it affects. It's a blood disease, and so but it affects everybody differently. And I had the trifecta sort of thing. So I presented as and this changed my whole life really in 2006.
Oh wow!
Right before I got married, and I stopped touring as much. That was really the beginning of this transition out of stand up and more into film and TV. And I still do.
Because you could stay home, and it's a lot easier.
And
right?
then we also wanted a family, and I knew I didn't want to be on the road for 4 months out of the year, 5, 6, 8 months out of the year. And so getting sick helped with that. But so I presented with as rheumatoid arthritis, and I had some erythema in my legs, kind of the hardening of the skin, almost like a calcification, almost of the, not that, but it's something similar. I would illustrate it. I had my white cell count was through the roof. So there was a short time I saw a hematologist that were waiting back on leukemia results, and then I had granulomas in my lungs as well. So
what's that?
Well, at first they could look tumory. But they're just some sort of growth, like a benign growth type thing that's a byproduct of this disease.
Okay.
And you get it much like you get rheumatoid arthritis. It started with a fever. I got really sick. And then 3 weeks later, it just hurt all over.
Wow.
And then I woke up one day and I could technically walk, but the pain was so great. I went, I have to go see somebody. And I'll say this, the medical system here, say what you will. I mean, if you're waiting for a hip, my thoughts go out to you. If you're waiting for a knee, I get your frustration. But I needed help. And I went from my GP. My GP sent me to a rheumatologist, because he saw the rheumatoid arthritis. And said, rheumatologist. I was in to see a rheumatologist within a few days. The rheumatologist said, "You have arthritis, but I don't think you have arthritis." I'm like, "What?" He goes, "I think you have something else
that causes this.
That's causing this, but this isn't what you have." And so he sent me for blood tests, and then the blood test came back. The leukemia came back, or potential. And I went to a hematologist, and I was in to see it from the time I said something's really wrong to this time a hematologist says, "Okay, this is what you have." I had a CT, an MRI, was less than a month. It was probably a couple of weeks. Really,
that's what happened to me.
Yeah,
with the MS thing, they were like,
"Isn't that crazy?
Oh, is that what it is? Oh, well, yeah, you're booked for an MRI in 3 weeks." Like, what?
Yeah,
everyone else is waiting a year. How, 3 weeks?
Yeah, and so we. I couldn't believe it, but that's when, I meet with a hematologist, and he said, "Well, so we're going to put you on prednisone and do some steroids and this and that." I said, "No, what are my options here?" And he goes, "Well, no, that's
your option.
That's not how sickness works.
Yeah,
that's not what we have treatments for it. Like it isn't okay. Put your hand into this bag and pull out a piece of paper with a treatment on it. No,
yeah."
And I really didn't want it. He said, "Well, look, here's what you do. Take the prednisone, and it's going to give you your life back, and you're going to be able to go and get married, and yeah, you're going to puff up a little bit. You're going to have these side effects, right? So just because the medication helps you doesn't mean that it's, solving all your problems."
Oh no, but it'll help you, but you get because this is what the problem, the treatment I'm going for probably. Mm-hmm. So you gain weight is one of the things, and sleep. Yep. My mom was telling me,
do you sleep a lot, or you don't sleep, or?
No, well, I sleep better now because I'm on this drug called Sativex. And as soon as marijuana got legalized in Canada, This is made by Bayer. It's and they've had it for years.
Yeah.
But it's been illegal here. But anyway, it's a spray you put under your tongue.
Yeah.
And it is 27% THC and 25% CBD.
Yeah.
And helps me sleep like a baby. I go to bed at 10 at night.
Yeah.
I wake up at 8 in the morning.
Yeah.
Before, I would have muscle cramps and pain, and I'd wake up at 5 a.m. and be up for the day.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, and that's something that I'm looking at right now. My asthma's come back with a real passion here. And I'm looking at CBD quite a bit.
Okay.
Because the CBD, the cannabidiol, is the anti-inflammatory aspect of marijuana. And, you know, and it's funny, I was talking to my doctor, who's quite pro marijuana, and they said, no, look, use your inhalers. Please, use your inhalers.
Right.
This is why we have it.
And that's the steroids, right?
I have a steroid inhaler now, that I use daily, plus I have a Ventolin that I use as I need to.
Okay. So that's for real crisis.
Well, but also just, I'll have a couple hits every day for sure right now. And the steroids are going to help my lungs get stronger. And you know, and then it's a much smaller dose. It's directed right into the lungs. But, you know, the CBD can help. You know, it can... Diseases all diseases basically an inflammation of one sort or another, and so that's where, you know, people have been smoking marijuana for glaucoma for years.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on, that's my parking. But
hold on, I'll pause it.
All right, cool. Let's do that.
Say about the.
With my sickness.
Oh yeah, that's what we're wearing.
The
that's
steroid. Right. In my case, helped. And the doctor at that point said, look, go and do it. You'll get married, come back, and we'll get you off. We'll titrate you off the steroid.
Was this a pill you were taking, or was it a drip? Okay, because I think the MS one is an actual. You go to the hospital, they give you intravenous.
There's different levels and intensities and everything for every treatment out there. That's why they're doctors. I mean, that's why, you know, when you always hear these people like, did you know that there's mercury in your? I'm like, yeah. Do you know there's cyanide in drinking water? But look, talk about what we're talking about here.
Do you know you're lactose intolerant, but you eat cheese all the time?
Exactly. Like, it's just one of those. We're not designed to do a lot of stuff that we're doing.
Yeah.
And he said, you know, and we'll just come off we'll come off the steroid. And he said, and you know, and in some cases people recover.
Yeah.
And in some cases people relapse. And he said, and if you relapse, then your life has changed. And I didn't.
Yeah, that's great.
I went and bought a lottery ticket, and every now and then I get like a little kind of, you know, gouty sort of type feeling. I have a little bit of gout, and very, very.
But you're on edge, or just worried about like that. You never know, right? And I blame everything on MS. It doesn't matter. I have a back pain. Oh, MS. Like
see, but I'm far enough away from it now, right? Where like even my diagnosis was like a soft diagnosis, because the hematologist said, "Look, what you probably have is this. But if you ever need life insurance or anything, let's just see if we can treat it this way. And if we can't, we can't. Then hey, let's get serious. But this is the first step." And so that was my medication. And you know, growing up with doctors in my family, you know, the reality is pharmaceutical companies are absolutely the devil. But luckily, we're not buying and being told what to get in Canada anyway from a pharmaceutical company.
Right. Canada's very different.
We have a doctor. And in the States, they have doctors as well. But in the States, you know, it's a whole different situation. So here, your doctor is your litmus test. Your doctor is the one that, you know, and if you have a doctor, and if you come in as an educated, you know, air quotes there, consumer of medicine, and saying, I want this treatment because I have this, and your doctor says, yeah, okay.
Right.
Go get another doctor.
Exactly.
Because that's not what they're there for. They're not there to support you. They're there to say, don't be an idiot. No. You know, you eat too many ho-hos.
Yeah.
And you're out of shape. You drink too much. And so I'm just going for my last video. But, you know, and get your shit together. Or yeah, like, I'm sorry, dude. You just, you know, you have some bad luck,
Yeah, you never. Well, when it comes down to, I talked to my wife about that last time we talked, and about how it helped you, and how it never came back, and whatever. And I thought, it's not going to kill me to go do it, even for 6 months. What if I could drive again? Like, I can't drive. I had to sell my car. My dizziness has taken over my life. My life has changed, and to a point that I can't function. I can't do the same jobs I did. I was a delivery driver.
Yeah. And who knows where that's going to lead you, and and who knows where that treatment will be. And obviously, you live in the hope. And I don't think my experience that I had with sickness is comparable to what you're dealing with.
No, but it changed my mind in a sense of, I may as well try it because this is something that's been worked on. It's not like I'm a guinea pig.
Right. Like, you'll never be as sick as I was. But the point is, it's just good to be open to what's out there and to understand, hey, yeah. And at the end of the day, you go on the whatever pill, somebody's making money.
Right. And it's not like I don't.
Not everybody's going to make money. Yeah.
It's not like I don't believe in vaccination or something like that. It's not like I know they are the devil, and I know that there's a lot of different things, but until I'm totally sure, or talk to friends who've been through experiences that would relate to it. But a lot of my friends and stuff are right against pharmaceutical companies and tell me, "What are you doing?" And that's what's in my mind.
But the two things I have to say to that are the people telling you about that one probably aren't sick.
Right.
And they aren't dealing with it, so it's easy for them to say, and they should learn to shut the fuck up.
That's true.
And they aren't staring down, and like, what do they say? There's no atheist in a foxhole.
No shit.
You know what? I always used to say, this is an older bit, but it started from, I was always anti-abortion to a certain extent. Like, I always said, there's reason for one. Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Totally supportive of that.
Someone's raped, someone's like something.
But I don't think it's a form of birth control.
Right.
Until a girl I was dating when I was 19 was like 3 weeks late. And then you start having those moments like, well, how do I really feel about this?
Right.
Like, maybe one I don't know. How do I really feel?
My thinking is, if someone uses abortion as a form of birth control, they've made that decision, and after 3 or 4 abortions, they're not having kids.
Yeah.
So they've already made their own bed. You know what I mean? And I don't agree with it. But hey, everyone's got their own lives.
Well, and I mean, we've gone on and developed, but but just because pharmaceutical companies are bad doesn't mean that they don't offer something good. You can see what that experience is for you, and you can get your life back. I mean, but you are going to have other. I think the other thing that's really hard to actually sit there and take medicine, and this is something I was dealing with, was. And to a certain extent, even now, like with just as simple as inhalers, I'm sick. That's hard to say.
Yeah.
That's hard to say. That's hard to be honest and say.
I walk with a cane. You know how hard that was?
Dude.
I'm telling you, for the first probably week and a half, it was almost a nightmare for me to leave the house. I'm embarrassed. What am I, an old man? Yeah, I'm sure I'm approaching 50, but I mean, give me a break here. And I felt helpless. Yeah. Like, I used to be punk rock. I used to hold my own in a fight, or you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I felt like I can't defend myself.
Yeah. Well, now you have a cane, dude. Of course you can defend yourself. Now you got a weapon.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
It's great. Get that little ice thing that chips on the bottom and jab people with.
But my wife made me get this because I had fallen a couple times. And she said, I don't care how embarrassed you are. What the fuck? Dude. This is your balance.
Yeah.
And if you're in public... If you can lean on something and you catch yourself, it's better than falling down in front of people. And how embarrassing is that as well?
Yeah. Well, and when I was 17, I had a bicycle accident. I hit myself a semi-trailer, had an altercation on the highway.
Wow.
Long and the short of it, the semi-trailer was not moving, and I was. And I hit the semi-trailer, not the other way around.
Wow.
It's a long story. But long and the short of it, I was in a wheelchair for 5 months.
Wow.
And that was weird for me because my dad was in a wheelchair, and so... dealing with that and I totally get it, the embarrassment and I had a good outlook or good enough that it got me through that. But I think that when the hardest part is just saying I'm sick. Like, the hardest part is saying something
admitting
wrong.
Letting it go.
And because why would you treat it otherwise, right? Because if you're not sick, if you're and I'm not saying sit there and like, I'm sick and I feel bad and whatever. that's part of the process for sure. But why would you ever treat something that you don't think you are? And so once you say, okay, well,
once you accept it and take responsibility,
and take responsibility, and
I quit drinking, I quit smoking, I eat healthier now.
Yeah.
I did stuff in my life that has changed because of this, and I took responsibility. But for the first year and a bit, I fought it at every turn. I still find myself doing stuff where you shouldn't do that.
Yeah, but you're still a human being. Of course, you're going to do stuff, but you've already taken the steps that some super important steps, which you were like the smoking, the drinking, let's get diet becomes important, not just because of what's going in your body, but you can't exercise enough to get it out of your body.
Right.
And, you get tired quicker. And so you're dealing with these things. And then you have these, I hope nobody takes this the wrong way, because I mean it sincerely, assholes out there who just sit there and like try to educate you about pharmaceutical companies.
Right.
And you're like how much?
You're not the one that the hand can't work, or you're not the one that needs a cane.
Dealing with what you're dealing with, and tell him I say hi. And so it's we are locked in this. It's tough when you hear about these new treatments, and it could change lives, and they're having incredible, with cancer or something. I was reading about a pill, and one pill's $20,000 or something like that, and you're like, well, wait a minute, there's something fucked up here for sure,
right?
For sure, right? And when you hear like pharmaceutical companies are fighting general people who make generic pills, like in Africa for AIDS treatment, and you're like, what kind of dick does this?
Yeah.
But here's the thing: that dick that's doing dicky things is trying to control a pill that actually works. Don't lose sight of the pill works.
Right.
They're trying to duplicate those pills because they save lives.
Yes.
The pharmaceutical company might be the devil. They're awful. Absolutely can be brutal people. Money-grubbing pricks. The pharmaceutical guy that raised the cost of the
AIDS medication. Yeah.
Was it AIDS medication? Yeah, that
went from
700% or something, and but hold on, that medication works. That's like your dad's a shitty, like, going back to Hitler. Why do you go to Hitler, for example? But like Hitler's son, like I just had this vision of going like, hey, I'm a good guy.
Yeah.
I love everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody. I married a Jew. I love this planet. And he's just no. Don't let my dad be me. And that's not a great example, but the medication can work.
The baby with the bathwater.
Yeah, absolutely.
If there's a cure there, then focus on that more than the dicks who and it is something that I have battled in my mind for a long time. Obviously, medication, and the only time I ever really consider it is when I now have just getting over a cold, but that really affects me. If I get a cold or anything like that, it can really affect my dizziness. It can affect body cramping and pain, and that's when I really consider it, because I'm thinking, oh, who cares? Whatever, drug will take it away. Let's do it, right?
Well, and it's funny, just even with my asthma, I was on a much lower, but when I get sick, I have to be careful with pneumonia because I can't clear out my lungs enough, and so. And that's why whoever's listening, sorry if I'm coughing in your ear. But,
me getting over cold too is like double cough.
But but I got to be able to clear up my lungs, and I can't do that without an inhaler. And when you take an inhaler and you're having a hard morning, and I take a couple puffs, I retch for a minute or two, and then
it's all back. Yeah,
dude, it almost brings a tear to your eye. Like you're just like, oh man, I can breathe again. Like you almost forgot what breathing is like.
Or that's all you're thinking about is breathing. That's the other thing. Your brain is constantly thinking, I gotta breathe. Because really you want to get to a point where you don't think about breathing. It just flows, and you don't even... It
just flows, and you're just looking at this little inhaler going, you've changed my life, and then some dick in the corner going, a pharmaceutical company made $1 off that. I'm like, I will cut you!
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, we digress, but yeah.
Well, enough about the illnesses and sicknesses. I want to end this on a good note.
Dude, when you're as good looking as you and I,
Exactly.
some shit happens, right? You gotta take it.
I wanted to talk about the couple of the shows you did.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Twilight Zone was really cool.
Yeah.
And iZombie. What did you do on that?
iZombie. What did I do on iZombie? Oh, I Nutty Dwayne.
Oh, okay.
It was like a
2016, 2000.
I don't know,
something?
somewhere in there. Yeah. It was a oneer. Like I just
Oh,
kind of
okay.
came in and when but this is a great example of what auditions. Going back to auditions, doing something different. I can't remember what the dialogue, but I come in and going, hey, look, there's a conspiracy to get this guy, and I can prove it. Huh? So you call me, we're gonna work together. It'll be great. I was never here, and then I leave. So that's what the scene calls for. So in the audition, I'm like, I'm going to leave before. Like, I'm going to leave and come back. I bet you nobody's going to do that. Like,
Right,
it's such a
right.
simple thing. Like, I'm going to, it's a conspiracy. Well, thanks for coming in. Yeah, no problem. And then I leave. And I can see the casting director like, no, you're not. And I came back and went, I was never here. And then I left.
Yeah.
Nobody, and then we did.
It made
and
everything. Made all the difference.
It made enough of the difference. It was, and literally, I think that's my entire part in that whole thing. But it was enough that they said, "Oh, wow, that's a neat layer. That's something different." Because again, everybody walking in can do this. So put him in a Hawaiian shirt, mess up his hair, make him look a little crazy, and do that thing.
Yeah.
And then we did that thing. We said, and do it without leaving, but we'll see which one we take. No, and they took me leaving. So isolated example in that role of, hey,
You stood out in the audition, right?
yeah. So I did something different. I made it my own in whatever little way it is. And in those iZombie is a great example for. I just worked with him on Twilight Zone. Oh, for crying out loud. Anyway, but there's an actor there. He had a small role in iZombie.
Okay.
He was a coroner or something or other, or a sketch artist. He played Ryan Beale. Gee whiz.
Okay.
Ryan Beale. And he went in, and it was a one-off. It was a sketch artist. He was playing a bad sketch artist, or whatever his character was. And they keep bringing him back.
Oh.
But he didn't go in with that expectation that he's going to be brought
Right.
back all the time.
Like a regular job, yeah.
Yeah, no, but it worked out. Now they're not bringing back Nutty Dwayne, and I'm going to talk to my agent about
Yeah, but
that.
sometimes when the writing goes that way, you never know, because there's so many times in a story where Supernatural, they're like, oh, so I need to bring in someone for this waitress.
Yeah.
And now they're in this diner all the time. Well, this waitress has to work all the time now.
Right.
And she came in for one day going, oh, well, I got one day on Supernatural.
Yeah.
Now it's like months of work.
Yeah, and so for him it worked out. For me, it still worked out.
Yeah, nice.
It's an IMDb. It's Nutty Dwayne. Nobody
Yeah.
knows that I was there. For
You actually got a credit.
scene.
Yeah.
And it's not like uncredited or man on toilet.
Well, there's so many. I was looking at, because you have, 37 credits for acting? You've got quite a few.
I guess so. Yeah.
And that's an IMDb. Like, forget
forget all the stuff that isn't even listed.
music
Yeah,
videos, and it's probably some shorts and some
Oh,
stuff.
there's all
yeah.
sorts of stuff that's not on there. Yeah.
Or that
absolutely.
Tell Us thing you just did. Or
Yeah, the tele thing isn't on there. I keep saying I should put it on, and then I'm like, I should go out and drink and sit in front of a fire.
Well, the big one I want to talk about is Metallica.
Oh, dude, Metallica was so much fun.
Yeah, that was Through the Never, and I had no idea you were in that. That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's the opening scene. I open the whole movie, so you don't actually have
wow.
to. So yeah, you don't have to watch the whole thing if you don't want to. It's great. I hear. I haven't seen it actually, but
I have, but I didn't notice.
But Michelle, it was funny. It was Michelle Allen who was casting that, and Michelle Allen has been nothing but incredible to me. Just nothing but just incredible, and but she could be tough.
Right.
She's no nonsense. She's like, yeah.
So
Like,
blunt, tell you straight out.
Yeah, blunt. Like, I remember going in for a role, Leon, in a thing called High Moon, which I ended up getting. And I walk in, and she says, "Oh my goodness, look, he is so Leon. Oh my God, you are so Leon. Why? Oh my goodness, you are. Why are we doing this? We should just be. Wow, wow. Okay, let's see it." So I do the scene, and the first thing she says after I'm done is, "Didn't see it." Like it just left heartbroken. She's like, "Look, the ending was great. The beginning, I don't know what you were doing." And she comes around and says, "Look, let's put this here, put that there. Keep this in mind. Let's try it again." So we do it again, and she's like, I guess that's not. Like, it was just, And
That's
then,
so funny.
and then I got called in for the callback, and then I got the role. But this is my first time ever seeing Michelle. And I think one of the wonderful things that I had with me from stand-up is the ability to not care.
Oh, like deal with the rejection like a pro, like water off a duck's back.
Like, hey, I want to do this, and I want to do a great job of this. I really do. But if I don't, whatever, I'm going to go tell
There's another job.
dick jokes to sad people in Prince George, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
got a backup here. I'm still doing something I love to do.
Right.
And so that gave me the benefit of taking chances and risking things.
Oh, yeah, the freedom to be...
Yeah.
Because you had a job.
Yeah, and hey, and I've had casting directors literally say, this is horrible, and didn't understand, and I didn't communicate well enough. I'm not going to blame the casting director. I didn't communicate well enough what I was trying to do or why I was doing it, and it probably was horrible. And at the same time, though, whatever, cool. Like, I'd love to work with, but I totally get it. We're both fine without each other. Maybe we'd be better with each other, but maybe not. Whatever. But Michelle came in, and I played this rocking like party dude who's started rocking out when he was 16 and never stopped, and had to hit a couple lines, but they should just improvise the moment and just let her go. And I ripped some arms off an old jean jacket I had, and came out, had a shirt, ripped the arms out in the collar, and my belly was sticking out a little bit. And
That's hilarious.
I came out and I'm like, just letting her go, and got the. I thought they were devil horns, but I was doing "I love you."
Yeah.
Devil horns. In the first take, they said, "Okay, cut. Let's reset. Okay, do this. Hey, Toby, that was great. Let's drop the Justin Timberlake joke. And by the way, you're doing "I love you," not devil horns. I was like, oh, so in the actual thing, I don't know if I'm doing "I love you" or devil horns.
That's
I'll
hilarious.
have to see, but
well, they're both appropriate if it's your favorite band.
Sure,
right?
exactly. And I just the poor people waiting to go in must have thought, like, I don't know what they thought. I was screaming like I was a crazed man, and afterwards she said, "Okay, so can you commit more?" And I said,
More?
Sure. And she said, "No, I'm kidding. I was just kidding." Like,
she's being sarcastic. Yeah,
she was making a joke, and I was cast right out of there. And Hetfield was the one that actually picked me for that.
Wow,
and then
nice.
So we filmed it, and then they shot their concert here.
Yeah.
And so I had backstage, I'll stop short of saying all access, but I had backstage all access-ish.
Yeah.
Access. And my wife's cousin was getting married, so I went to Golden instead because I make bad decisions.
That's hilarious. Well, I mean,
I'm glad I went. It was great.
Metallica's nostalgia, and I think back to when I was a teenager in the 80s and loved it.
That's how I learned to play guitar.
Yeah, there you go. And but now, I don't know. I'm a different person. I'm 50 now, so I don't listen to like it's nostalgia when I listen to it. I'm like, oh, this is great, and I dig it. But it's not like I put it on for any other reason than that.
Well, see, and I just introduced the kids to Metallica.
Ah,
so my 1-year-old and my 4-year-old are headbanging.
That's
now,
a different thing. Yeah,
which is great.
Yeah, nice.
So that's kind of nice to revisit it. But yeah, that is certainly nostalgia. And
yeah, for me. But if I had kids, same thing. I'd be like, oh yeah, I'd play it for them and whatever. There's a bunch of different stuff. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, but I've become a softer guy now.
And what about like the other credits? You like, I noticed you had a writer credits, but it was for the Halifax Comedy Fest.
Oh yeah, so that's stand up. So because you get like
you didn't write for other comedians. You
write your own act, and so you get a writer's credit.
I gotcha.
In
okay.
That. Kind of like the Debaters, but Debaters doesn't do anything on.
And I heard you when I was driving. I was like,
did you?
Oh, we saw the Debaters. That's hilarious.
Yeah. I've done it like 4 or 5 times, I think. Or 3 or 4 times. It's a great gig, and I just don't keep up with them enough. But it's always one of those things I think, I should send them some pitches. And
so they go cities across the country? Is that how they do it?
Oh, okay. Yeah, they tour across.
They show up and they're like, Toby, come down. And
in some cases, like I had them contact me about doing Mac versus PC. Because I'm just known as a Mac guy and the tech support for all the comedians in town. But then you also pitch them. So you say, hey, I have an idea, like dogs versus cats. And they go, oh, that's great. Ketchup versus mustard, or, whatever those are. And if you pitch them and they like them, then you just let them know what side you're on, or they might send out a list of like, hey, here's a list of topics that we're looking at. Are you for, pro, or against? And then you write them up, and then just away you go.
But being the creative person you are, I'm sure you could be for or against. It doesn't matter.
Oh, for sure, and it doesn't matter if you win or lose. Like that's, that's the thing.
It doesn't matter.
People are always like, oh, every now and then, like
they got the better of you.
Like, oh, I lost, and we're like, who cares? No, it's fine.
There's no losing.
No. Check yourself. Look at what we're doing for a living. We're totally winning. It's a charmed life.
That's so funny too. A lot of the time when I was doing deliveries and before I got sick or whatever, I would listen to talk radio. That was a big thing, talk radio. And now podcasts have been really coming forward, and that's the new talk radio kind of thing.
Working, yeah.
That's what it is. I have to get a new battery.
Don't worry about it.
These are battery. Anyway.
Yeah, that's cool.
I should wrap it up here. Is there anything you want to pitch? Is there anything you right now that you...
Well, I got a show idea. Okay, we're two guys, crazy guys. Different levels of sickness. But we want to do one last hurrah in Vegas before we go. I don't know what's coming up. Well, it'll be interesting to see what's happening this... you kind of talked about this men's health thing,
right? Yeah, the Tell Us Men's Health.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see where that goes. Like there's some stuff coming up, and I'm doing some theater shows in Edmonton, and stand up is around, and just Instagram or Facebook. It's probably I have a website. See Toby, just type Toby comedian, and I'm in the top page probably.
Yeah. See Toby Live.
Yeah, see TobyLive.com. So SEETOBY. Which I thought was so simple until people were like, at C2by Live?
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't want you to visit my website now anyway. So, but we're looking at maybe taking this whole men's health idea of, we've done the assessment. Like we needed to do that. Look at me, I'm out of shape. I'm healthy though.
Yeah.
Except for the asthma, but I'm healthy right now. Things are still good.
Well, the cameras are in your doctor's office, and we're listening to them to tell you. It's hilarious.
Yeah, you're listening to the whole thing. And so that was an honest to goodness thing. Like, I went and did the tests, and, I mean, I knew I was okay, because if I wasn't, he would have called me. But I'm hearing the results like you're hearing the results.
Like live.
Yeah, live. And so, and everything was fine. And then that was, they cut it out of the program, but that was my whole point of, like, go see your doctor. Just everybody, go see your doctor, and it's part of your life too. It's your professional life, because chances are you're healthy. Chances are you're a lot healthier than you think you are.
But it's better to know.
But if you aren't healthy, well, you got to find out. So you best be there anyway. And so now what we're talking about doing is taking the next step and saying, well, look, let's get me in shape, and let's make it doable for everybody. This is a non-profit foundation, so for the people like you and I that sit there and go, okay, well, I don't even know where to start. No, this is where you start. Costs no money. You don't have to have anything special. This is barefoot in shorts. If you have an internet connection, this is how you start. Yeah. And if I see a benefit of from a personal trainer, great. But that whole thing is shared with everybody in video. You get the workout routines. There's no special diet. There's it's you don't have to buy anything, and let's see what we can do, and let's see if we can create a forum where people can support each other, and get healthier.
Yeah, get healthy. Well, the biggest thing for me was diet that I didn't realize before. Everything was based on. I like the taste of that, so that's more important than what it does to my body.
Right. Yeah.
So if I eat that and, I can't sleep, I'd rather the taste of eating it before worrying about the sleep kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then as time went on, I was more conscious of my body. Then I kind of changed things. And one of the big ones was gluten. I didn't realize I had a gluten allergy or something with it.
Yeah.
I'm like vegan, vegetarian, whatever. Screw this crap. I'm not. I never took it seriously.
Yeah.
I thought, it's just people looking for attention, whatever.
Yeah.
And when I stopped gluten, it was a lot easier than I thought. For one, no bread, no pasta, basically. And if I have had pasta twice that had no gluten in it.
Yep.
And you can go. It's way more money. If you get a loaf of bread, it's like $7.50, $8. It's expensive.
Yeah.
So I just stopped eating bread. But if you eat meat, it wasn't that hard. So it was more vegetables and fruit and meat, and stay away. And you can eat potatoes and rice if you want, kind of thing.
I went through a little phase where something was going on with my stomach. I was getting a really upset stomach. I'm like, I can't leave the house. I got to stay close to the toilet, sort of thing. And what is going on? And so I went to my doctor, and he said, well, let's just see, And so first thing, one of them was a gluten sensitivity. So I did, because that's an easy one.
Right.
So I did the gluten sensitivity, and no, I'm totally fine. He said, well, dairy would be the other one. Do you want to do the dairy? I'm like, nah. And he said, well, are you sure? Because, I said, no, because either way I'm miserable. Either way, if I stop doing dairy, I'm miserable.
Dairy, yeah.
I don't drink milk at all. I'm not a big cow's teat thing. But, geez, if I can't have a Roquefort with a little bit of pate on a cracker, life isn't worth living. A glass of red wine and... fuck off. That's
hilarious.
I don't care how sick I am. I'm going out with a glass of a nice light Pinot and a nice hearty a little bit of a goose liver pate with a little blue cheese. Oh, forget about it. Oh no.
That's your favorite.
Oh, dude, it's a treat. Yeah, it really is.
I've been eating lactose free cheese. I've been trying that.
Sure.
Instead of the fake cheese. I don't want to do soy cheese. I'd rather not eat it if that's the case. So I go, because some things require cheese in the deal. So I go get lactose free, and I've been doing almond milk in my coffee.
Sure.
And I don't totally cut dairy out of my life, but I really cut it back.
Yeah, coffee. I drink coffee, and I drink it black for the sole purpose that when I order my coffee, when they say cream, I say no. Black like the future. I don't know why I love that line so much, but I literally started drinking coffee black so I could say that.
Well, on that note, thank you for coming in.
Oh, dude, thanks for having me,
it was
man.
Great
this was
to
just
talk
great.
To you.
Absolutely. Likewise.
Yeah.
Man. Likewise.
And I will definitely call on you again and come back after.
I'm all out of stories.
Yeah.
I got nothing left to say.
I'll wait some time.
I told them all. Okay. That's awesome, buddy. Thanks, man.
All right. Take care, Toby.
That was fantastic. I love to sit down and talk with Toby. It's such a treat. Join me next Monday when I have a chat with James Earl O'Brien, who is the producer and cinematographer for a documentary called The Perfect 14 about plus-size models. And really cool guy. Has done a lot of projects over his life, and really interesting interview for sure. Other than that, you guys have a fantastic week and weekend, and I will talk to you next Monday, all right? Take care.